Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Gathering the Magic. Today we're looking at a $65 budget Winota Joiner of Forces deck tech. From Ikoria, Winota says whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human from among them on the field that's tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. This deck is all about getting a big non-human attacking army, triggering Winota, playing a variety of humans and Staxy cards to get the victory royale. Now, let's get straight into the budget deck tech. As always, we're starting off this budget brew hot with all of that ramp. First up is Gold and Iron Mirror to tap and add a plains or mountain to our mana pool. We have Ornithopter of Paradise to add 1 mana of any colour to our mana pool. And I know what you're thinking, it's not ramp, but we're throwing in the Paradiseless Ornithopter. Just to show here, creatures like these are key for Winota. Her trigger says just on attack, so you can attack with these weak rampy creatures and Winota gets multiple triggers. Back to that ramp, there's Commander Sphere to add either Boros colours or have as a secondary card draw option, and Felwar Stone to add 1 mana of any colour an opponent controls could produce. We've got Budget Diamonds, Fire and Marble to add either red or white mana, and as always we're taking that trip to Signet City, first with Arcane to add either Boros colours, and Boros Signet to add both Boros colours. There's Talisman of Conviction to add colourless. You can also add either Boros colours but take 1 damage to yourself. And finally, we have Sol Ring, because Sol Ring. Before we start looking at that token army, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe down below for all things MTG. Subscribing is completely free to do, and it really does help our channel grow and grow. And if you're buying cards from the UK or Europe, make sure to use Card Market, where you can use our affiliate code when signing up as another way to help support the channel. You love to see it. We want millions of non-human attackers, and nothing beats a token army to do it. First up is Anax Hardened in the Forge. This is when it or another non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 Satyr creature token. If the creature had power 4 or greater, create 2 tokens instead. And Loyal Apprentice, this is at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control your commander, create a 1/1 servo creature token with flying and it gains haste until end of turn. There's Goblin Instigator, the ETBs creating a 1/1 Goblin token. And Goblin Rabblemaster that creates a 1/1 Goblin token with haste at the beginning of combat on your turn. The more non-human tokens we have on the field, the more Winota triggers we could get going, cheating out many humans onto the field. There's Mog War Marshal that when ETBs or dies, create a 1/1 Goblin token, and Dragon Fodder to put 2 1/1 Goblin tokens on the field. Finally, we have Raise the Alarm to create 2 1/1 Soldier creature tokens, and Genesis Chamber. This is whenever a non-token creature ETBs, if Gen Chamber is untapped, that creature's controller creates a 1/1 Mere creature token. Before we look at the humans we're hoping to cheat out with Winota, let's look at some more non-human creatures, these ones being super Staxy. First up is Archon of Emeria and Eidolon of Rhetoric. This is each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn, with Archon also making non-basic lands your opponents play ETB tapped. There's Glow Rider, this says non-creature spells cost 1 more to play, and Vring Windmere, this says non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Why are we boarding that Stax train? Because with those Winota triggers, we'll hopefully be playing multiple humans a turn, cheating our creatures and gaining a huge advantage whilst our opponents will be stuck in the mud. There's Aven Mind Sensor that says if an opponent would search their library, that player searches the top 4 cards of their library instead. And Remorseful Cleric, we can sacrifice to exile all the cards from target player's graveyard. And Spirit of the Labyrinth, this says each player can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Finally, there's 2 Stax Living Enchantments in Deafening Silence, this says players can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn, and Rule of Law that only allows you to play 1 spell each turn. It's finally time to look at all those humans we'll be playing for free thanks to Winota. First up is Magus of the Moon. This says non-basic lands are mountains. And Aethersworn Canonist. This says each player who has cast a non-artifact spell this turn can't cast additional non-artifact spells. There's Blade Historian to give your attacking creatures you control double strike, and Frontline Medic that has that attacking option to give your creatures indestructible until end of turn, with a secondary option to sack to counter target X spell. We've got Basri's Lieutenant that has Vigilance and Protection from Multicolored. When it ETBs, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever it or another creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, create a 2/2 Knight with Vigilance. And Brutal Cathar that when ETBs or transforms, exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the field. This deck not only wants hundreds of humans, but plenty that have ETB effects, attack effects, removal and more. There's Winota, Fire Dancer, that says at the beginning of combat, create X tokens that are copies of another creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. And Silverwing Squadron, whose power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. Whenever it attacks, create a number of 2/2 Night tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you have. We've got Professional Facebreaker, that says whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. You can sack treasures to exile and play cards off the top of your library. And Zealous Conscripts, that when ETBs gain control of target permanent until end of turn. There's Thalia's Lancers, that when ETBs you can search your library for a legendary card, putting it into your hand. And Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, that says non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. We have Geiston of Monk, whose power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. When it ETBs, create 2 flying 1/1 spirit creature tokens. There's Odric, Master Tactician, that says when it and at least 3 of the creatures attack, you choose which creatures block this combat and how those creatures block. For the final 2 in this section, there's Mother of Runes, that we can tap to give target creature we control protection from the colour of our choice until the end of turn, and Flashy, Cathar Commando, that we can pay and sacrifice to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Before we finish up with those lands, we're looking at the best of the rest in this budget brew. We have a whole wave of protection here, first with Alcide of Life's Bounty, that we can pay and sack to give target creature or enchantment we control protection from the colour of our choice until end of turn. And Cliffside Rescuer, that we can sack to give target permanent you control protection from each of your opponents until end of turn. There's Selfless Saviour, that we can sack to give another creature you control indestructible until end of turn, and a Chroma's Blessing to give creatures you control protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. In a deck like this, Winota is going to become such a huge target that we're going to need a good number of ways to keep her on the board. We've got Boros Charm to do many things, with the most important giving permanents you control indestructible until end of turn, and Sajiri Shelter to give target creature you control protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. There's Unbreakable Formation to give your creatures indestructible until end of turn, and Eerie Interlude to exile any number of target creatures you control, returning those cards to the field at the beginning of the next end step. For some cheap to cast non-human attackers, there's Phyrexian Walker and Rograk, Son of Rogar, that has Menace, First Strike and Trample. There's Signal Pest that can't be blocked except by creatures with Flying and Reach, and Gingerbrute that can only be blocked by hasty creatures. As with those cheap rampy creatures earlier, packing in a few more cheap or free to cast creatures to quickly attack makes Winota kick off even earlier and really puts you in a strong board position. For some classic white removal staples, we've popped in both Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares to get some enemy creatures exiled. There's Skirk Prospector that allows us to sack a goblin to get some mountain mana, and Impulsive Pilferer that when dies we create a treasure token with that added awesome encore mechanic to bring it back a few more times. We have potentially cheap to cast Bolt Bend that says change the target of target spell or ability with a single target, and Chef's Kiss to gain control of target spell that targets only a single target or player. Copy it, reselecting a new target at random for the spell and its copy. The new targets can't be you or a permanent you control. Finally, there's Kabira Takedown to deal damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker, and Goldhound with that First Strike Menace, and we can sack to get 1 mana of any colour. As always, we're finishing off this deck tech with all of those lands. Here, starting off with those basics, that in this brew we have 15 plains and 14 mountain. There's Command Tower to add either Boros colours, and Exotic Orchard to add 1 mana of any colour an opponent controls could produce. We have Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse to both tap and sack to search our library for a basic land, putting it onto the field tapped. Winota, although it is a commander that's been around for over 2 years now, is one that is constantly rising in popularity due to the pure destruction and chaos it can cause. I think me and Master Steve, after building this deck digitally, will be building it in person in the very near future. I'd better prepare now. There we have it, that is the Winota $65 budget Stax deck. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe down below for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.